These all.
think something wasn't quite right.
So we have 1, 2.
It's the weather. Yeah. It was asking people to try and get here early, but made everybody late. Screwed up everybody's plan.
There's quorum is what, 10 people now? You have 18 on the board, so 18 divided by 2 plus 1. 10.
That's net of recent losses.
Yeah.
All right, you're good to go whenever you want.
So Zool is supposed to doesn't count for quorum, but.
Hello, folks.
Yeah, why don't we get going? Get close.
You're good to
Okay. Hi, this is the May, I guess I didn't update that part of the thing. This is the June 22nd meeting of Manhattan Community Board 5, Transportation Committee. I'm David Sigmund, Chair, and I'm joined tonight by Samir Lavingia, our honorary acting vice chair just for tonight. Any items voted on at this meeting will appear at the full CB5 board meeting on Thursday, July 9th. We have one public item on the agenda today, a presentation by the Department of Transportation on the 6th Avenue protected bike lane and bus priority improvements. And after that, we have internal committee business for the rest of the evening. Before we jump into the agenda, are there any members of the public or the committee who have new business that they'd like to raise? We're doing this first so members of the public don't have to wait through all the agenda items if they're here to raise a new topic.
For the public?
Now's your time. If
Oh, great.
it doesn't relate to what's on the agenda.
Okay. Great, thank you so much. So, yeah, my name's Brian Nesson. I'm an architect. I work just 2 blocks up 7th Avenue. And about 16 years ago or something, I started this group, Friends of Privately Owned Public Space, kind of interested in POPs in Midtown, and proposed to this committee this idea of this pedestrian network in Midtown that the committee was interested in, and asked DOT to study it. DOT did study it and created this thing, 6.5 Avenue, which was like kind of amazing that I was like just a random citizen proposing something, and I was like, government is like at work here, you know, responsive and doing things. So it was really an amazing experience. And you know, so just recently I kind of revisited, and you know, DOT has this great technique of using temporary installations to be very experimental as an agency. And so that's what they did. They used paint. They used these kind of temporary signs on these like stands and things like that. And I think they maybe at one of the crosswalks. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys don't know what it is, but it's a series of crosswalks and stop signs between 6th and 7th Avenue, between 51st and 57th. So one of the intersections has been sort of like made permanent. You know, they've done the curb geometries and the signs are permanent. Other ones are less so. You know, Marcy, who's working with us this summer, and developed these. But so we looked at the different. We looked at the different intersections, and we just think, you know, maybe after, I think it was installed 14 years ago, it's showing its age a little, and we were just hoping to request DOT to, you know, take another look and see if they can make more of the other intersections more permanent. And just to find out what's the time frame. Marcy, do you want to maybe just describe a couple of the
Sure,
things?
yeah.
I've seen?
So I've been observing the passageways for about a week or two now, and I think some of them really stand out as being used particularly a lot by the people that work nearby. And some of them I think are a little bit less known of, and perhaps the maintenance could help increase visibility in that sense. And so I think if you see 56th Street, this one is very clearly completed. The stop signs are permanent, as is the curb geometry, as opposed to a street like 55th Street, for example. This one particularly stood out to us. The stop sign is unfortunately facing the wrong way, so the cars, bikes, and people can't see it. I know I'm always scared of the bikers when I'm crossing the street more than the cars, so I think that could definitely cause a safety hazard. And there's just little things that I think could help make this a more enjoyable space for the community, which I think is specifically New Yorkers, not really tourists. Like a nice hidden passageway.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, and I mean, I think it has slowly helped, businesses have kind of, I think, kind of occupied the spaces and really, I mean, there's that brasserie or between one of the spaces that's really done well. So we think this is, helping businesses and we think they would appreciate that improvement. We've also started to look, and one thing we're really, interested in studying this summer is, we think there's an opportunity to extend it south. Right now there's, you're heading south now. Yeah, right now there's the Urban Hawker, food court actually allows, that wasn't there when this was created, and that allows passage through. And there's a Pops on the other side. And so there's an opportunity to take this, a number of blocks south. And I think it could really, it could have more utility if it were longer than 6 blocks. So anyway, just wanted to bring that to the committee, introduce myself, getting interested in this again.
Do you have any idea why 56? Is that the first one where it's the permanent installation?
Yeah, I think I once talked to someone at DOT, and I think maybe part of it, some of them maybe it's just a little more complicated in terms of like managing stormwater. That if they did extend the sidewalk to do that kind of sidewalk narrowing, they might need to work out some things, but maybe just funding, I'm not sure.
Okay. If you send us the digital version of this,
Sure.
we'll share it with DOT and see what we learn in terms of what their project schedule is and
Great,
how they're, how they're sort of managing the timeline on it.
okay.
We did propose 7.5 Avenue as part of Midtown South rezoning,
Oh, cool.
which city planning wasn't as interested in. But same problem, we had an extremely wide block and a lot of
Yeah.
people in this case trying to get to Penn Station or, north to the bus terminal. So we were like, it's been tried before, maybe it'll work again,
Yeah,
but we won't find out about that one. But yeah, send us the document and we'll be happy to share it with them and see what the reaction is.
okay. All right, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks for coming in.
Sure.
All right, thanks. Anybody else on the committee or? Nope.
Charles is online.
Oh, Charles,
Charles,
okay. Charles, go ahead.
Hello, hi there. I'd like to make some comments for new business, which will be completely separate from any comments that I'll make after the presentation. I'm just hoping that if any graphics could be described, as I'm blind and I can't see them, if possible, when the presentation is happening. Also, it'd be very helpful as someone who's a blind constituent of this community board. It'd be helpful if it could be possible, Chair. My request would be if members of the public could be asked if they have any affiliation with Transportation Alternatives, which is a lobby group for bike lanes, or if they are from any other community board, just so I can get a sense of, are we, where people are coming from when they're giving input. Are they mostly from, inside our community board, or are they from elsewhere? And it'd be interesting to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll jump into the one and only agenda item. So the order of business on this is that DOT will take us through their presentation on the Sixth Avenue bike lane extension. Members of the committee or members of the community board that happen to be participating can then ask questions or make comments. After we go through that, we'll take comments from the public. There's no time limit in committee meetings on public comments, but we do ask that you keep things succinct and avoid repetition. And after all public comment has been received, we'll enter the committee business session where only committee members will discuss the matter with no further input from the public unless requested by the chair. And finally, we will craft a motion and take a vote on a resolution for this item. And after that agenda item, we're going to stop the public meeting and just go into committee business. So that, who's going to be presenting for DOT? Hey, Colleen.
Hey everyone, it's Colleen Chattergoon from New York City Department of Transportation. Don't worry, I'm not at a FIFA game. I'm actually at a graduation at my alma mater, St. John's University. So thank you so much for accommodating us this evening to give the presentation on the Sixth Avenue protected bike lane and the bus lane improvements that we are planning to do on Sixth Avenue. Tonight, joining me is my colleague, Dustin Kuhn from our Transit Development Unit, as well as Preston Johnson from our Bike Unit, along with our colleagues from the MTA. And Dustin is going to deliver the presentation. So thanks so much for hosting us this evening.
Thanks.
All right, I can start. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin Koo, Assistant Director of Bus Priority here at DOT. So we're really excited to present a proposal for Sixth Avenue bus and bike improvements today. I'll start by sharing my screen. Okay, can everyone see this?
We can now. Yeah.
Great, awesome. Okay, so for this presentation, we'll go over background and context for the corridor, existing conditions on what exists on the road today. We'll go through in detail about the proposal. I'll only focus on the CB5 section, but we do have slides for the rest of the corridor if you're interested. We'll go through summary and next steps of the project and leave time for questions. So why are we studying Sixth Avenue and why are we trying to improve it? As you all may be aware, Sixth Avenue is a major corridor for buses and cyclists with over 51,000 average daily bus riders on 4 local bus routes and 27 express bus routes. So there is a greater need for full-time bus priority on the corridor. Currently, it only exists for a very small section and part-time. It's part-time during rush hour only. Between 2019 and 2024, bike volumes have also increased significantly on the corridor. We've seen a 20% increase in cyclists on weekdays and 54% increase on the weekends. So there's also a greater need for more safety for cyclists to meet this growing demand. Safety is a huge component of our project. Sixth Avenue is a Vision Zero priority corridor with 3 priority intersections at 14th Street, 23rd Street, and 34th Street. So we're incorporating pedestrian safety improvements wherever we can in this project. So as I mentioned, safety is a huge component of this project in our considerations. Sixth Avenue ranks in the top 10% of streets with most people killed or severely injured per mile. Between 2021 and 2025, there were a total of 978 injuries. 87 of them were severe and 3 of them resulted in fatalities. So that brings us to the goals of what we want to achieve with improving 6th Avenue in this project. We want to improve bike lane and pedestrian safety. We want to, in order to accommodate growth in cycling and provide space for new types of bikes, different sizes and speed differentials. We want to remove mixing zones and upgrade to offset crossings, creating pedestrian islands that shorten crossing distances and slow turning vehicles. And we want to find opportunities to install bike corrals and planters wherever feasible. For the bus priority portion, we want to prioritize transit in this very critical transportation corridor and increase bus speeds and reliability for 51,000 average daily riders. So there's going to be a lot of information in the proposal, but this is just to summarize the full scope of the project. We are proposing to extend the bike lane widening from 35th to 59th Street. As you may be aware, the original bike lane widening that was proposed last year is currently in implementation. That's from 13th Street to 32nd Street. We are proposing new bus lanes from Watts Street all the way up to 58th Street. And on blocks where the bus stop is currently takes up the full length of the block, we want to propose double bus lanes to allow for better maneuverability for the bus. And within this full project area, we are looking to propose bike corrals and planters to really improve that public realm and safety for pedestrians. So now I'll pass it to my coworker Preston, who can talk about the existing bike lanes that are currently in implementation.
Hi, my name is Preston Johnson. I am a project manager within the cycling and micromobility unit. And as Dustin is mentioning, the protected bike lane widening project between 13th Street and 32nd Street is being implemented right now. As you can see from this photograph, the new white lines have gone in, and you can see where the old lines have been removed. You can see as part of this project, we are upgrading the mixing zone left turn treatments, which had moving vehicles coming in across the bike lane in a way that a lot of people riding bikes found uncomfortable, but we are upgrading that type of treatment to what we call an offset crossing, which adds a pedestrian island, which you can see right there. It still hasn't been painted in yet. But so currently those types of that green paint is starting, and those pedestrian islands will be painted shortly. And then after that, the bike symbols will go in. There'll be some parking regulation changes. We are adding new pedestrian areas that are going to be protected by planters and other features. And there will also be some signal upgrades at 14th, 23rd, and 29th Street.
Great, thanks, Preston. So now moving on to existing conditions of what currently is on the roadway. I will quickly pass it back to Preston to talk about existing bike facilities.
Yeah, so as you're probably well aware, DOT has a long history of working on 6th Avenue. There have been bike lanes on 6th Avenue for decades. In 2016, we began upgrading the standard lanes that had been there for so long with protected lanes between West 9th Street and West 32nd Street. In 2021, that protected lane was extended northward to Central Park. And in 2024, we extended it southward from Lispenard Street. And so, and in that segment, we also implemented a wider bike lane. And so, because we're seeing such high bike volumes along the corridor, that's a treatment that we would like to expand. What beyond beyond 13th Street, what we did last year, and beyond 32nd Street, what we're doing this year. And we feel that a lot of these the higher bike volumes, the wider cargo bikes, just like giving a little extra space makes it a safer condition for people riding bikes.
Thanks, Preston. And as I mentioned before, there are existing bus facilities on 6th Avenue. It's a very short stretch from 35th Street to 56th Street. They're currently curbside and part-time only during rush hour, the PM rush hour from 4 to 7 p.m. As you can imagine, they are frequently blocked by illegal or double parked vehicles. And for the majority of 6th Avenue, there is no bus priority, so buses are traveling in mixed traffic. So now I can pass it to my colleague Rob from the MTA to talk about existing bus speeds on the corridor.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, so this the map on this slide shows the bus speeds with on the map on the right side, the solid line represents the speeds for the local buses, and the dashed line is the speeds for the express buses. And generally, the darker the line is, the slower it gets. And so you can see that generally the speeds are slow, but they get slower as you go north. They're especially slow between 14th Street and 59th Street. And they go as low as 3.5 miles per hour for local buses and 4.2 miles per hour, which is really still not very fast, for the express buses in the PM peak period. And if we go to the next slide, so this slide is showing the ridership at all of the stops, combining express and local boardings and alightings, or ons and offs, with the larger circles and darker colors representing more people using a stop. And you can see there are more people in general north of 14th Street, a lot more than south of 14th Street. And the ridership is concentrated at the major cross streets, where also the subway stations tend to be as well, 34th, 42nd, 50th, 57th. And if we go to the next slide, as part of this project, we are proposing, whoops.
Oh, I think that's a few slides later. Oh,
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll get
All
back
right.
to you in a bit, Rob.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
you. But yeah, now we can go into our proposal. So I have slides specific to the CB5 area of the project. So between 14th Street to 32nd Street, as you know, the bike lane widening is currently being installed, as Preston mentioned. The new treatments that we were proposing here is to convert the rightmost travel lane into an offset bus lane. With the combination of the bike lane widening and the offset bus lane, we would be reducing the travel lanes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. And we would be maintaining curb access where it exists today. So we're not removing any parking as part of this proposal. We are also proposing left turn calming treatments at the following intersections: 6th Avenue at 15th Street, a left turn calming treatment on 16th Street turning onto 6th Avenue, and more left turn calming treatments at 17th, 19th, 21st, 25th, and 31st Street. So moving north between 32nd Street to 34th Street, this is where there's an existing two-way bike lane. We are not proposing any changes to the existing bike infrastructure here. Between 34th and 35th Street, there is a single northbound bike lane that remains unchanged. What we want to propose here is a double bus lane, and to maintain those 2 travel lanes further south of 32nd Street. And so moving north of 35th Street, what we're proposing here is to widen the bike lanes by reducing the 5-foot buffer to 3 feet. This allows us to widen the bike lane without removing additional travel lanes. We are proposing offset bus lanes as well and maintaining existing parking and loading spaces where they currently exist. On blocks where there are a number of blocks north of 35th Street where the bus stop takes up the full length of the block because there are so many express buses and local buses that stop there. We are keeping those bus stop lengths the same, and on those blocks, installing double bus lanes to allow for greater maneuverability while maintaining those 2 travel lanes throughout the full project length. And so these blocks with full length bus stops are between 34th Street to 38th, 40th to 46th, 48th to 51st, and 52nd to 56th. So there are a few blocks where the bus stop does not take up the full block, and it is it either takes up only partial of the block or the entire block allows for parking and loading. So we would just have the offset bus lane on these blocks while maintaining the existing parking regs that exist today. So blocks where there are these partial length bus stops include 38th to 40th, 46th to 48th, 51st to 52nd, and 56th to 58th. We are in north of 35th Street, we are proposing left turn calming treatments at 41st, 41st, 43rd, 45th, 47th, 49th, 51st, and 55th Street. So these are typical representative block renderings just to show you from a bird's eye view of the cross sections I just showed. So this typical block is from 14th to 17th Street. You can see here that there is a new widened bike lane. We are converting the rightmost travel lane into an offset bus lane. At bus stop, the bus pulls up to the curb as usual to pick up passengers and continues onto the offset bus lane. And wherever parking and loading currently exists, we are maintaining those curb access spaces. And here's an example of a left turn calming treatment at 6th Avenue and 15th Street. So there would be these rubber speed bumps that sharpen the turning radius. So cars are forced to slow down a bit more and when they're making a left turn and they're able to see on cyclists that are traveling north on 6th Avenue as well as pedestrians crossing the street before they make that left turn. So the next representative block is from 45th to 47th Street. This representative block shows a combination of both the double bus lanes where bus stops take up the full length of the block, as well as a mix of bus stop and parking and loading. So between 45th to 46th Street, you'll see here that there are bus stops just south of 45th and between 45th to 46th Street where the full length of the block is a bus stop. So we are proposing double bus lanes here to allow buses to maneuver around each other as they pick up passengers. This allows us to maintain 2 general travel lanes throughout the full length of the corridor. And on blocks where there is existing parking and loading, such as between 46th to 47th Street, we are maintaining those spaces and just having that single offset bus lane. And you'll see here that we are proposing the widened bike lanes here by just reducing the width of the existing buffer zone. So this allows us to widen the bike lane without removing additional travel lanes. And now I can pass it back to Rob to talk about proposed changes to bus stops to increase speeds and reliability.
Thanks again, Dustin. So Yeah, so in general, we do have a whole lot of bus stops along Sixth Avenue, especially for the local routes. And so as part of this project, we'd like to sort of help speed up the buses even further by removing a handful of the stops that are especially low ridership or close to a lot of the other stops. These are at Broome Street, 12th Street, 29th, and 51st Streets. And I mean, if you look at the ridership maps on the right-hand side, you can see that these particular stops are the ones that are the lowest in lowest ridership group on the corridor, and with about 200 people or less either getting off or on a given weekday. After the stops are removed, the stop spacing around them would be between 4 and 5 blocks, or about 1,100 to 1,300 feet, which is within our guidelines. And you do see that kind of stop spacing at various places in Manhattan already. And so we think that getting rid of this handful of stops will help speed up the local buses, and help contribute to the effect of the double bus lanes or offset bus lanes, helping the buses to move faster up as they go up Sixth Avenue.
Thanks, Rob. And so just a quick note on the traffic analysis that we did for this proposal. We did a full traffic model of the full length of the corridor from Lisp Bernard up to 59th Street. We collected traffic data at every intersection along the corridor and we modeled traffic patterns during the AM and PM peak periods. Without getting too much into the technical details, the key takeaways that we found from the traffic analysis that we performed are that we found that existing peak volumes are between 750 and 1,000 vehicles per hour, which according to our guidelines can be accommodated in 2 travel lanes. According to MTA data, congestion pricing has reduced traffic volumes in the congestion zone by 11%. And we found that with the combination of the reduced volumes from congestion pricing in combination with signal timing optimizations that we will be performing with our signals unit, we do expect that proposed design to maintain baseline levels of traffic flow. As with is standard practice with all of our projects, we will continue to monitor that traffic flow post-implementation to make sure that signal timing and other adjustments can be made if necessary. What we did find in the traffic analysis, that resulted in one design adjustment, is that I mentioned that the traffic model began at Lisp Bernard. As part of the traffic analysis, we found that it is best to begin the bus lanes north of Watt Street to allow for improved traffic flow for vehicles accessing the Holland Tunnel. And this is just an example of the pedestrian safety treatments that I mentioned earlier, so you can see them more visually. These are examples of the rubber speed bumps for left turn calming treatments, as well as widened pedestrian spaces. There are painted pedestrian refuge islands to help create more of that separation between cyclists and pedestrians. And as Preston mentioned earlier, we will be proposing bike corrals and planters wherever feasible to really improve that public realm and enhance that sense of safety and security. And just a quick note on curb management. So I mentioned that we are maintaining the curb access spaces wherever they exist today. We are still exploring updates to metered parking regulations to improve commercial vehicle access and greater turnover, especially where there are high concentration of businesses. So on blocks that are currently metered and any new metered block spaces, DOT is exploring a mix of 1 hour and 3 hour commercial metered parking during the day and early evening, followed by passenger and metered parking in the evenings and on weekdays. There'd be a mix of commercial and passenger regulations on Saturdays. But the exception to this would be between 14th and 23rd Street as part of the meterless pilot program. There would be no new passenger regulations added, and the regulations would stay for commercial vehicles only. So going through summary and next steps, the implementation of the bike lane widening proposed last year is in progress right now between 13th Street and 23rd Street. During the rest of this month, we are presenting the new bike lane widening as well as the new bus lane proposal to the community boards. We do hope to begin implementation in the fall of this year. And we would be monitoring the project post-implementation to make sure things are working properly, that the traffic flow is working as expected, and we'd be in close coordination with our signals unit to make sure that everything is functioning properly. So that's it for our proposal and our presentation. We can take any questions you might have.
Oh, great, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for filling in some of the questions that came up in the preview as well. That was helpful. All right, so I actually, I cheated. I saw this early on, and so a lot of my questions were kind of answered at the time. But we'll open it up to members of the committee, or if there's anybody else from the board that's not on the committee that wants to ask questions. So we'll go through all of that or make comments. So I think we can do both at the same time. Great.
Do you mind going
Hi,
back?
David. Hi, David. Before we open up to committee questions, Borough Commissioner Danielle Zuckerman is in attendance. I'd like to introduce her and give her a few minutes to say something if the committee would allow that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Sorry, I'm not on my computer. My keyboard decided to stop working, but thank you again, as Colleen said, for your time tonight, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Appreciate it. We'll jump into it.
Can you go back to slide 16? Okay, so I guess I think it got a little bit clarified on the upcoming slides, but my question was for the double bus lane, I guess, like, what is the benefit of doing, having the buses pull in and out of traffic? I'm a little concerned they're gonna get stuck versus just having a, curb, or not a curbside, what is it called? Like a bus bulb out, like you see on 14th Street or you see in other parts of the city. Was that explored?
So that we could look into that. There are drawbacks to that design. They would be longer term, first of all, but having only one bus lane instead of two doesn't allow for better maneuverability. As I mentioned, there's multiple bus routes that are stopping on various points of the block. So there might be express buses that are stopped near side, and then the local bus may be pulling up far side to pick up passengers. And so if we only have one curbside bus lane with a bus bulb, the buses that need to maneuver around each other need to go back into general traffic in order to get back into the bus lane if there's a bus stopped ahead of it.
Got it. And are there any right turns that would cut the buses off or enter the bus lanes?
Yes, so right turns are permitted in the bus lane. So we do mark, I can maybe go to one of the renderings to show. These don't have the directionality on them, but cars are permitted to enter the bus lane to make a right turn.
The left-hand side.
On the left hand?
Yeah, if you look at the
Oh, I see. Okay.
south of 14th Street. But that's a limited vehicles that can be making that turn.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess my comment would be that I have concerns about allowing other vehicles to get in the bus lane at all because it could lead to congestion.
I think at least one of the routes along the corridor was going to be camera enforced. Is that right, MTA?
Yes, the M7 already has the camera enforcement system up and running.
Right, but that's only if you're double parked or something, right? If you're legally taking a right turn, you wouldn't get a ticket. Like if there's just a lot of cars that want to take a right turn, and you're backing up into the bus lane.
Right, right. That's true. So if it's a legal turn, you know, you won't get a ticket for it. So we can look at the traffic model again to see if it makes sense to ban certain right turns at certain intersections. We do have to balance that with just people being able to access the streets. So
Right.
We can take a closer look at that.
Thank you.
I mean, if there was congestion at the curb lane, then couldn't buses go into the offset lane to get past it and then go back?
Yeah, I guess if there aren't other buses that are coming. I guess I don't know how. I mean, I guess with a bus lane, the idea is that it's mostly empty, so then buses can go fast when they come through. So I guess if there's space, then yes, but I wasn't sure.
And then on the previous slide, which I didn't realize, that really almost all of this area is a full-length block front bus stops. So you basically have continuous, you know, for most of the zone, it effectively operates the way you think for most of the zone.
Got it.
Okay, yeah, Charlie.
Oh, you already answered a bit of the question, but I wanted to ask about enforcement. So it sounds like the M7 already has ACE. Is there a plan to roll out automated camera enforcement to other lines along this corridor?
Kate, if you're on, would you?
Yep, I can take that one. So right now we're focusing on corridor level enforcement so that we can deploy this system as broadly as possible across the city. The M7 is a pretty frequent bus. So if two consecutive buses a certain number of minutes apart see the infraction, then that's going to get the ticket. And for now, we think that is an appropriate level of enforcement for the section of 6th Avenue that has the M7, but we're constantly monitoring it. We're working to roll out more routes across the borough and across the city. So if there are specific routes that you'd like us to take a look at, we can certainly take that back. But for right now, the M7 just launched. It just went into full effect a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to be monitoring it closely to see how that deployment goes.
That's great. Thank you.
Of course. And it does three different things, right? It's parking in the bus stops, double parking anywhere along the corridor, and bus lane enforcement. So it's looking for a number of different illegal behaviors by drivers throughout the corridor.
Max.
First of all, thanks for the presentation. I felt like the questions that came up in my mind were often answered in subsequent slides. But one thing I look at when looking at this is how is this going to affect people who want to, turn onto 6th Avenue from the streets? I kind of see, people could get stuck if the travel lanes are completely backed up and not be able to tie. They might get stuck, cutting off the bus lanes. If the streets are backed up and you can't really anticipate that well enough coming in from the street, from like say 45th Street in this diagram. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so in our traffic model, we collected traffic volumes at every single intersection throughout the full length of the corridor. And this includes the side streets, and it also measures the what we call the queue length of vehicles waiting to turn onto 6th Avenue. So that is something that we took into consideration, that we did model. Just based on the current volumes as well as signal timing improvements that we are proposing, we don't expect there to be major backups on the side street, but as I mentioned, we'll continue to monitor those queue lengths post implementation just to keep a close eye on it.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm a new member of this committee, so pardon my ignorance. I just want to clarify something. In the traffic analysis, you mentioned that having two traffic lanes will allow for 750 to 1,000 vehicles per hour. What does that mean? Does that mean like on one block? I don't understand. Can you explain that to me? And then I also have one more question.
Sure, yeah. So our general guidelines show that a single travel lane can handle up to about 600 vehicles per hour without exceeding, that's the capacity that it can handle. So if we have 750 to 1,000 for 2 lanes, that's below the general threshold that we use for what we call uh vehicle volumes exceeding capacity. So it's a really wonky term just to show that like with 2 travel lanes with that volume is still within capacity of what our general guidelines show can allow vehicles to move through intersections without fully backing up and causing major congestion.
Thank you. I have one more question. On your, I don't remember the slide number, but you said that the 6th Avenue between 32nd and 34th Street currently has 2-direction bike lanes in
Yes.
in a 10-foot wide lane. So I just don't understand why. I always find this very dangerous, we're not used to looking in 2 directions when we cross the street on a one-way, avenue. So I always find this section very alarming. And why is this there? Because the rest of the avenue is all one direction.
Yeah, I don't know, Preston, do you might have more context on the history of the bike lane here?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really change. I mean, as you can see, we didn't really change the existing condition of the bike lane at this location. I mean, I think there's just a lot going on with Broadway bike lanes and 6th Avenue bike lanes, and currently, I think this is sort of our best pass at kind of creating a bike zone rather than maybe like 2 separate bike zones and like splitting up that pedestrian space further. I mean, your points are well taken, and it's always a challenge dealing with 2-way bike lane on a 1-lane street, especially.
Yes.
But we we look forward to making improvements as we see the opportunity to. This is kind of where we are right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again for the presentation. I wanted to ask you if you could provide a little more context on the stops that you're proposing to close. I know that you mentioned that there were only 200 people on average who used those closures, but I wanted to inquire just a little bit more if you looked into who those riders are. And my primary concern would be people with mobility issues, and have you thought about where they would go alternatively if that's a concern for those community members?
Yeah, it's what we have are on and off counts on the buses. It's very hard to determine the specific mobility of who of those actual people. But with these removals, you would still be within a block or 2 of a bus stop within one direction or another. And I mean, this is something also if we do this and we suddenly get a flood of complaints by, oh, there's all these people who, for whatever particular reason, there's a senior center that we didn't know about, and they're all using this one bus stop, we could always go back and revisit that, if it is a particular problem at a certain location.
Zul?
Thank you, David Samir. And thank you, Dustin, Preston, Robert, Colleen, Kate, and welcome to the new commissioner. So we all want to get the buses moving faster, and I think going very much in the right direction. I think anecdotally, the double bus lane is a great advantage. Also, the bike corral, speed bumps, terrific. Three questions. One that's really been asked already, but I don't feel answered, and that really is the mixing of one-way bike lanes, two-way bike lanes on one avenue. You know, they're all two-way now. There's sometimes four or five or six ways. So that's an unanswered question, I think. But two others quickly. We still have parking and loading lanes. Have there been consideration of really no parking, just loading lanes? We don't need to have cars parked on our streets anymore. So let me let you do that. And then I have one more question about material safety after that.
Yeah, so I'll take the parking loading question. I'll review the existing curb regulations, but from what I recall, I think it's mostly commercial loading along Sixth Avenue. So can just go to that curb management slide. So yes, our parking unit is currently reviewing the land use and curb usage of all the existing curb access spaces along Sixth Avenue to determine what is the most optimal curb reg to propose in the area, or to just leave it the same. As I mentioned, they're looking into a mix of 1 hour and 3 hour commercial parking only. As you mentioned, you know, this is a super busy commercial corridor. It makes sense that only commercial vehicles should be allowed to load in those spaces.
Thank you, Dustin. So just one other thing quickly. Yeah, I'm so glad the mobility question was raised in regards to removal of the stops. I don't see much of an issue though, because people do with mobility issues have Access-a-Ride to go to. But if you do find that, you know, it happens to be by, you know, some particular clinic or senior center, that might be something to consider. But last thing, Dustin, a lot of paint going down now with the red for the bus lanes and the green for the bike lanes. That's good. I'm just in terms of material safety. What kind of testing have we done here? You know, over wear and tear, weather. A lot of this is going to leach into the sewers. So what do we know about this paint?
Yeah, I can't speak, you know, specifically to the paint itself. What I will say, it's you know, we use our standard citywide contractors who work in all 5 boroughs. And you know, you know, it's through a bidding process, and so they are held to DOT standards, and are, you know, have been putting in the same materials around the whole city.
Are there environmental regulations in place with the DOT guidelines?
That's yeah, I can't speak to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a concern because while we did something really interesting on Broadway, you know, we started using this kind of gravelly paint, which is kind of nice on one hand, you know, get away from the black. It was, you know, much lighter color, but so much of that ended up in the sewers, that material. So I think this is a concern. But thank you so much.
Yeah, and I do think that's a valid concern. You know, I think we use materials that need to adhere, you know, through the elements and vehicle usage, but it's a good point. It's something we can ask our team about just in terms of what the standards are.
Yeah, Samir.
So I don't know what slide it would be on, maybe 17 or 18, but one thing, you know, that's come up when we talk about Fifth Avenue is like, they have said, you know, we might not need a bike lane on Fifth Avenue because we could maybe get something two-way on Sixth Avenue, at least for that section. Is this like fully putting that to bed, this project?
I don't think this necessarily precludes a future project on Sixth Avenue, but we're definitely going to be monitoring, you know, this lane and seeing how it works. But yeah, I don't think any kind of future capital proposal is necessarily precluded here.
Okay, and that, I guess, could in theory include what, a double wide bike lane in each direction? Like what is, basically, I guess I'm trying to understand, like, if this, like, how long do you expect this treatment to last then?
So, in terms of these are, it's mostly just markings changes, so it's just paint on the ground. Those can be refurbished, you know, in perpetuity. If there are there's an appetite for changes along Sixth Avenue in the future, you know, it's just a simple remarking of the street, so that it's easily changeable. And especially when there's a repaving that's scheduled for the roadway, that provides a clean slate for any new markings designs.
Thank you.
Christopher.
I've been following this closely since we approved the bike lane change last year. And I use the bike lane quite often, and now that it's double wide, it is great. I have to say, I absolutely love the extra space that's provided there. It is a noticeable improvement to biking. But since it's come up so many times, that section of Sixth Avenue where it is two-way, which is the way I think all bike lanes should be, but that section, it's clear that because of the way Broadway is configured, if you want a continuous ride downtown along Broadway, you can't, once you get past that Macy's section, you can't go down the fully pedestrianized section of Broadway next to Greeley Square. So obviously that's why the bike lane is the way it is, going, you know, for a limited amount of time in both directions, so that people can get from that part of Broadway to the Flatiron section of Broadway near Koreatown at 32nd Street. And it is, in by all accounts of my using it, a very easy and safe exchange. It makes a lot of sense, and it does enable you to have a fully pedestrianized plaza on the other side, rather than drag a bike lane through that area where, you know, Koreatown begins. So that seems to work really nicely. But since we're talking about it, like, have you noticed it as like a section that is actually dangerous? Because I mean, you know, what has been reported, what dangers are there that have actually occurred? Because I feel like it is pretty safe. And to the idea that we should only expect to look in one direction when crossing the street, I was having dinner the other night on Second Avenue, and I saw headlights, and someone was driving straight north up Second Avenue. It happens all the time. So I think anyone who doesn't think that trucks don't back up, which they're allowed to do, or that bikes won't, at least temporarily, use a bike lane in the other direction for deliveries, or cars won't, you know, back into a parking spot, you should always look both ways when you're crossing the street, no matter what. So my question is, what's wrong with the two-way bikeway, if anything, and have you noticed that as any kind of problem?
I can't say I came prepared with those safety stats, so I can't speak to, you know, the hard numbers. I mean, I think, you know, we do hear the concerns about two-way traffic sometimes. You know, if people aren't looking for it, you know, it can come as a surprise because bikes are quieter than cars. But yeah, your point is taken that you know, looking two ways before you cross the street is a prudent action. I think creating designs where two ways becomes a more anticipated movement, rather than, you know, I mean, I think there's a difference between the places where it's designed to be two ways and places where it's only designed to be one way. And there are different expectations for pedestrians as they cross those types of streets. As far, you know, like I say, I don't have the safety stats for Herald Square, but, you know, it is a very highly congested area for pedestrians, bikes, automobiles. You know, I mean, I think we'll try to make it as safe as we can.
Did you want to? Oh, yeah, quickly. Do you expect an increase in use of the buses, ridership of the buses, and increased use in the bike lane after this is complete? And how does that factor into your analysis?
Yeah, maybe I could pass it to the MTA to talk about ridership.
Yeah, I mean, we're monitoring ridership all the time, and you know, if we see ridership go up to the extent that the buses are exceeding our guidelines, we would add service. That's our general policy. So, yeah, we'll be checking and seeing what happens.
Yeah, just to confirm, like, it's a good thing. Like, it sounds like from your slide before, the buses are not much better than walking in certain parts of Midtown. And so if they are much better than walking, I think a lot of people would want to use it. Might have learned not to do that.
Okay, any other questions from committee? Any of the committee members online? No, okay. We will move on to comments from the public. So please raise your hand and we'll march through the line. Chris Sanders. You can unmute yourself, Chris Sanders. It's Chris.
So you try again.
Okay, Charlie Todd.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Charles Todd. I live on West 54th Street. I use 6th Avenue all the time. Full disclosure, I'm on the Transportation Planning Committee for Community Board 4. So I like this presentation so much. I've watched it twice now. And I just want to say thanks to the DOT for these changes. Obviously, Community Board 4 ends on 26th Street, but I live at 54th and I'm constantly biking. I biked the expanded lane from 14th up to 34th the other day with my 12-year-old son. And delivery cyclists were passing us, and it wasn't sketchy like it usually is because there's plenty of space for them to pass. So just wanted to say I'm so enthusiastic about this and already enjoying the part that's been changed and can't wait for the rest. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Charles.
Hello. Before I ask my questions to the presenters, I just want to make a comment and clear up something that was said that is wrong, which is as an Access-a-Ride user, I'd just like to say, not all senior citizens have Access-a-Ride. It's not easy to get Access-a-Ride. It's not guaranteed you'll get Access-a-Ride, and you have to go through a very rigorous process. So saying, oh, senior citizens, it's okay, they all have Access-a-Ride is not correct. So my first question is, it was said that the island is going to be painted. I'm wondering, how is a blind person with a cane going to know that they are on that safe island area? Why is it not raised like down on 14th Street where you actually have something to step on? I'm also wondering why, if we're thinking about pedestrian safety and we think about those who are blind and visually impaired, is there going to be an increase of audio pedestrian signals, especially if you're saying it's going to be a two-way bike lane? Have we thought about that and about the timing of those pedestrian signals? Also in the presentation, you said planters where feasible. Feasible doesn't mean to me, I don't interpret that as it's going to be all along the length of the whole thing. Feasible means to me wherever possible. So I just want some clarification on that. Are the planters going to be all over the place, separating this bike lane from pedestrians, or is it going to be just wherever the budget allows it to be? And then my final question is, I would love to know from the presenters, when you come to meetings like this, are you also looking for members of the public who have concerns, such as enforcement of bike safety, registration plates for bicycles, and ways to slow down the bikes when they come to crossings? Because that's where I get the most issues, is when crossing the street. That's, some bikes unfortunately go through the red light. Are you looking for some of those comments, and does it help you if those comments are incorporated into any resolution or letter of support, or does it really not matter because it's an advisory committee and no matter which way they go, you guys are just going to do whatever you're going to do? So I'm just wondering, how seriously do you take concerns of pedestrian safety, because unfortunately, I don't think this committee takes it very seriously. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for your questions. I can start by answering a few of them. Yeah, we really welcome your feedback and take pedestrian safety very seriously. So this is all really helpful information just to know, these concerns are things that we've heard before, and definitely things that we are taking into consideration for our projects. I can answer the automated pedestrian signal question. So whenever we do signal work at any intersection, those automatically get triggered for upgrades for pedestrian signals. I can maybe pass it to Preston to see if there is additional signal work that is happening as part of the bike lane widening portion.
So I don't have the information on the audio signals available right now. That is something that is definitely an agency priority and goes in, when we have the opportunity to. But I don't have the details on that right now.
If there are signals along this corridor that aren't already equipped with APS that you know of, if you want to flag those, we can definitely take a closer look at them, and we can also just let the relevant team know that we are, we want to make sure they take a look at this corridor. And then just on the other question, as Dustin said, we definitely take the feedback seriously. Certainly the more specific and targeted, the better we can address it. I think, CB4 mentioned the 23rd Street intersection in particular, that could benefit from some additional enforcement post-implementation. Dustin mentioned, we monitor these projects after implementation to make sure things are flowing well. But we also work with our partners at PD, and to the extent, there are particular locations of concern. We also recognize that people have concerns about, cyclists adhering to rules. We think that having wider bike lanes will also support the sort of movement of, cyclists along the corridor and minimize interactions with pedestrians. But certainly your feedback is welcome here as specifically as possible.
I'm just following up on that, just with this graphic that's up now. So those sort of extended pedestrian zones that I guess are shown in yellow, is there some material difference? Is there some way that somebody with vision limitations would be able to know that they're not in the street, they're in an extended pedestrian area?
Yeah, I can double check with our engineers. I believe some of them include detectable warning strips to indicate that there's an edge line.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thomas?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, Thomas. I live on 29th Street between Broadway and 6th Avenue. Really excited about these changes. I've used that bike lane to commute to work downtown, and had to get into the street because of congestion in the existing bike lane, and that caused a taxi to decide to brake check me and cause a collision with me. So I appreciate the widening and adding of the bus lanes. Hopefully this also does something for the incessant honking and the blocking of the intersections. Hopefully the elimination of one lane will decrease the sort of car sewer that 6th Avenue, especially in this part of Midtown, tends to be. So thank you very much for these changes, and looking very much forward to it.
Thank you. Chris Sanders?
Hey. So I live on 35th and 5th Avenue. I'm just inside of Community Board 5. And so, like, people are not in the neighborhood, the DOT, they're not always taking the street safety seriously with a lot of things that I see them doing. But with this plan, this is fantastic. I like the bus lane on the 6th Avenue. on the right, and then the bike lane on the left. And then in the area around, let's say 35th to 45th, it does need to be wider. I would say the area between 34th and 35th needs to be wider, but I'll take what I can get. But overall, I feel like this is pretty good. Was wondering if the DOT was going to do the green wave timeline on 6th Avenue. So that will make the cyclists want to go under 15 miles an hour. I feel like that speed with the lights is safer for everyone, especially the pedestrian and people with disabilities. So I'm curious if they're going to do the green wave timeline on 6th Avenue.
Preston, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have plans for the corridor at the moment. It takes a bunch of signal work, but we are deploying it at various corridors now and, getting good data on how that works and definitely looking to expand the tool. So it might be coming along to this corridor down the line.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And also, yeah, I would love for I think 32nd to 34th Street doesn't really work on 6th Avenue as like a weird two-way bike line. If I feel like, oh, well, then you might as well do all of 6th Avenue as a two-way bike line. But if you're not going to do that, then having one block or two blocks is a little weird to me and confusing. But, like I said, this project's great. Thank you for presenting it, and hopefully we can do better later. All right. Thanks, Community Board.
Jim Wright.
I think I'm unmuted. Hi.
Yep.
Thanks, David, Community Board 5, and everybody from DOT and the MTA. I've been following this project. I live a half a block off of 6th Avenue in the 20s and use all the modes there, pedestrian, bike, vehicles sometimes, not often, but at times, and buses. So to see a combined plan for 6th Avenue like this that's based on data is exactly what exactly what DOT is good at and needs to continue doing. So kudos to that. I do have a few questions and comments. You mentioned calming at some of the left turn intersections. This would be on the odd numbered streets, but not all of them. And I'm curious why that would not be a standard practice at every left turn intersection. I can just go through my questions here and then turn it back over to you. I would suggest physical barriers between the parking lane and the bike lane to prevent vehicles from blocking the bike lanes, which unfortunately does still happen. And there's various ways of doing that, as you know, from some of the lightweight plastic bollards to something more substantial like planters. And I really believe there needs to be a strategy to widen the bike lanes from 34th to 35th Street. I understand what the constraints are with the existing plaza necking down the pedestrian pathway at that location, but to have a wide bike lane on both sides of that intersection, necking down to a single lane, very narrow single lane between 34th and 35th, actually forces bikers into the traffic lane. So, and I've seen that happen. I think it's really a dangerous block that needs to be looked at more closely. I would also suggest adding a center stripe to the widened bike lanes if that's not already being planned. I know with the recent painting, it's not there now, but maybe that's planned. It would help just to kind of separate the slower and faster traffic. And I just wanted to talk about the transition from the Broadway bike lanes to the Sixth Avenue bike lanes on 32nd Street. That currently is a really awkward transition zone. As you know, there's the traffic is going eastbound. The northbound and southbound bike lanes coming from the south split on 32nd Street. One is on the right side of the vehicles, one is on the left side of the vehicles. It's really confusing. I've suggested this before, but I think there's two possible remedies. One would be to transition the northbound Broadway lane at 31st Street rather than 32nd Street. So that the bike lane is going in the direction of the vehicle traffic. I know there's a MTA layover in that block, but I'm sure there's a way to make all of this fit. If for some reason that doesn't work, I would suggest carrying the northbound bike lane up to 33rd Street through the plaza, similar to what's done on the southbound bike lane at Herald Plaza between 35th and 34th. Again, to avoid this really awkward two-way bike lanes on 32nd Street. If those two bike lanes are eliminated from 32nd Street, I would put the southbound transition lane on the north side of that half block between 6th Avenue and Broadway. And the reason being is that right now, if you're turning left on 32nd Street, there's no queuing space for the bicycles if you're at a stoplight. So if the queuing space was on the north side of that block, there's a natural queuing space in the area to the north of that. So I think that would make that intersection work much better. And I think most of my other comments have been mentioned by other people. Again, really a great project. I'm really grateful to see the priority bus lanes incorporated into the project. That wasn't really shown in great detail before. So I'm really grateful to see a complete streets project. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. All right, if there are any other comments from the public or something got spurred by a committee member, now would be the time. Otherwise, we're going to move into the business session and talk about the resolution. No, all right. So we'll go into the business session. I think what we should talk about is there general support for this. So that's number one. Number two is I kind of envision this as a kind of greatest hits of things that we've already approved and issues that we've raised before. So we just approved, within the last few months, the 13th to 32nd Street piece of this. And so it's kind of natural for us to approve the extension of it. On the question that was raised about, in the future, could this be a bi-directional bike lane? Certainly not within the same space that's being allocated to take an expansion program and then just turn it into a division program. I don't think accomplishes, what the bike riders in this committee were trying to accomplish. So I think we can touch on that. For Park Avenue Vision, we had called on a continuous bike lane on 5th Avenue. And this would be a place to do that again. When in the preview session, I don't think that was, I think I'm allowed to make comments about what was said in the previews, but there were people that came out against this mostly for issues of accommodating automobile traffic. And particularly in the peak, a lot of the comments were, the stretch in Midtown is very busy during the holidays. And, my reaction to that was, you don't design the church just to accommodate Easter. So I don't think we're trying to come up with a design that accommodates traffic during the busiest of the busy season. And so I didn't see that as a real answer to the usefulness of this project. And then I would try and accommodate, in these cases where we have some pretty detailed input, I would pick up that commentary as, input from the public that we think should be examined by DOT. So I'll throw that out there as the starting point.
Yeah, I guess I would start by just saying that my question about the bi-directional was more to see if we wanted to reaffirm our interest in a Fifth Avenue bike lane, because this seems to at least somewhat preclude it for the near future. That sounds like we might do that, so I'm happy with that. And then I looked at our Sixth Avenue resolution from 2025. We basically did the same thing, like the format was like general whereas clauses about what the resolution, what it is, what the project is. And then, here's what we heard in support, or I guess at first it was against, here's what we heard concerns, and then listed all the concerns, then here's what we heard in support, listed all the people who supported it and what they said. And then I think at the end, we just said like, the balance says that we support it. So I think if we do something similar to that, I would be perfectly happy to support that.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion on this? Yep, Joel.
Yeah, I think just what Samir just said really it sums up, and your point really, this is a very good opportunity to talk about the Fifth Avenue bike lane again.
No, I'm ready. I mean, to what you were saying of the busiest season, I think the trend is to just pedestrianize the streets entirely at the busiest points anyway. So like it's odd to worry about car traffic there. But I think like from what we heard from the public, we heard zero complaints about the actual program itself. So I think we can endorse the program with like a full-hearted, like we heard nothing but positive remarks from the public. With all, sure, the concerns could be listed, but I think that, ultimately this isn't even really like a balance. Like it's overwhelmingly like there were no nobody came out to say anything against it. So I think that should be reflected.
Okay. Any volunteers to write this up?
Any of the new people want to?
You have models in some prior, as we mentioned, that we can supply that. So if somebody wants to volunteer to do this write-up, and you have, let's see. Are you volunteering? Okay, great.
Also send via email the 2025 proposal, so I can
absolutely
just tweak it a bit, but also take a fine tooth and look at the
Well,
details there.
thank you, Pearl. Appreciate it.
Do we have a copy of the presentation?
Oh, no, that would be good.
Could we also get a copy of the presentation sent to the board office?
Yes, we'll do.
Thank you.
So the executive committee for this is on Tuesday, the 30th. So we would need, by the end of the prior week. It's actually the end of this week, right? So yeah, like Thursday or Friday of this week.
So you want me to get to work? I can do that.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, we'll be happy to, you can circulate the draft, ask whatever questions. We can send you the those prior precedents, which are the Park Avenue vision and the previous version of this. Okay, so we can take that to a vote unless there's other points people want to make. Yeah.
I just wanted a reiteration. So I believe you referenced that you would like to have put in this resolution some of the same concerns that were referenced in the 2025 proposal for the earlier part.
I think we pick it up from this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So usually the easiest way to do it is just to either look at the transcript or just rewatch the video at a 2x speed, just jot some notes about what people said, and then just put it, was that in the concerns category or the in favor category? So I don't think it'll be too long because we didn't have too much public. But
Okay, great. All right. We'll take it to a vote.
great. All right, let's start with Charlie.
Yes.
Natalie.
Yes.
Elsie's not. Ankur.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Christopher?
Yes. Tiffany?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Harper?
Yes.
Max?
Yes.
Yoden?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Zoll?
Yes.
Great, it passes 13-0-0.
Great. All right, thank you, DOT team for the presentation.
All right,
If
thanks
you need
everyone.
help, anybody with a paintbrush, we'll be happy to get out there. As long as the stuff is safe, I mean.
Yes, thanks DOT, MTA, and the new commissioner, Rava.
You're welcome.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we're taking this off public, we'll just, Sure, you do that or.
Oh, yeah,
let's
do it quick then.
So we're just gonna do, maybe stuff now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Can you guys have like a document shared drive?
Yeah, on the website, actually, you can go in, there's a here table. And search for this right off the website. Wish you could. Okay, so I thought this would be a good chance for everybody to kind of introduce themselves, and we have our new members here today. So we'll just kind of go around the room, and if everybody wants to kind of quickly say who they are and whether they work for Transportation Alternatives. And just, if you want to make a comment as to why you're on the Transportation Committee or what you hope to accomplish, that would be great. So why don't we do that? And then I have some stuff, I shared the materials with you, but we'll take you through kind of all of the DOT things that we're working on right now. And then this teams and topics things, I'll give you a little deeper explanation of that. We'll put that up on the screen.
I didn't do it right. We're still, I just stopped the recording, but not the broadcast.